Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
I'm Dr. Willa Brown, your Taoist expert at Sex Reimagined.
And I'm Leah Piper, your Tantra expert at Sex Reimagined.
And today we interviewed the one and only Dr. Rosensweet. Dr. David Rosensweet. He's the founder of the Institute of Bioidentical Medicine and the Menopause Method. Really cool guy and incredible practitioner and just actually a very beautiful human, very beautiful soul, I felt, and just very extensive education, loves helping women, has helped hundreds of thousands of women around the globe, and teaches and educates other practitioners to help women with their hormones as well. He did write an incredible book, which he gave us for free. So be sure to listen for that book. Because you're going to learn so much about your own body and your own hormones and how they all function.
Look, if you are in your 30s, this is an important episode for you to listen to. If you are in your 40s, this is an important episode for you to listen to. If you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s, look, it's never too late. You want to tune in and get involved in this conversation because it's important to our vitality, to our sexuality, and to our feeling of strength and youthfulness. Fullness. All right, tune in and you know what to do.
Turn on and fall in love with Dr. David Rosensweet.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
All right, welcome. We're so excited to be here with David Rosensweet. Dr. Rosensweet, welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast. And I am curious how this conversation is going to go today because Dr. Rosensweet is a bioidentical hormone expert. And I, as a functional medicine and Chinese medicine doctor, tend to be on such a holistic side of the perspective on how to handle hormones that I actually don't even recommend bioidenticals unless it's as like jumper cables to get things going again, but not long term. So I'm so excited to be here with you, Dr. Rosensweet, and just to learn more about your method and learn more about how you have helped so many hundreds of thousands of women. I mean, that really is the name of the game. That's the end goal, is that women feel better in their bodies and in their lives. And I know that you do it very, very safely and ethically. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Willow and Leah. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and I'm excited because this is going to be like a spectator sport for me because I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, Willow knows me enough that it's like pulling teeth to get me to take a supplement. So it'll be interesting to see as we are both in our mid-40s and headed into our journey into being perimenopausal in the near future. And so this is such a timely topic as I was just spend probably an hour and a half this morning speaking with a girlfriend who is postmenopausal and having some of her own issues. So I'd love to drop that in both of your laps to see what kind of, how you might help her solve her problem. And the other thing I'm kind of curious about is we've already started talking about women, but do you also treat men and their hormones?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. And would you say that your practice is like 50-50 or is it dominant in one gender?
Well, the main thing that I do these days is train and mentor physicians and nurse practitioners to treat women and men in menopause and andropause with compounded bioidentical hormones.
Cool.
So I'm curious, Dr. Rosensweet, in your work with people, do you look at their nutrition? Do you look at their diet? Do you look at herbs as an option for them in bringing their hormones into balance before going to bioidenticals, or do you go straight to the bioidenticals?
Well, a little background. I graduated in 1968 from medical school. I loved medical school. But
You
even
did?
as a I loved it. It was like a temple. It was synagogue for me.
Oh, that's so
Cool.
cool.
And it's hard, but it was
True
great.
physician then. Love it.
And,
Yeah.
and yet as a senior, I started asking, well, gee, how do you help people heal? And I got very interested in nutrition. The very first thing I pulled out of the University of Michigan Library was the Yellow Emperor's book
Oh,
on
okay,
Chinese
good.
medicine.
Awesome. Oh, great.
And so right out of the gate, I was exploring nutrition, toxicity, exercise, emotions, life. And the more I did, the more I thought that one's life and living was very good for health. And then all the obstacles that we have to that, emotional, mental, choosing, all the, well, one way to put it is conditioning that we bring to it, leads to life habits, health habits that really dismantle health. And the elephant in the room is poor nutrition. So I was hired by the state of New Mexico to write on nutrition, to try and do a practical manual. So I was way into it.
Okay, good.
And then along comes the need for my own healing.
Okay.
And so 45 years, I've been deeply devoted to really unraveling, bringing to the surface, and healing emotional impediments, mental, choice, perception, relational.
Right.
Cool.
Wonderful. So you are coming from this very holistic point of view. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you share a little bit about your healing journey?
Yes. I loved medicine, but the main thing that I wanted to do in this lifetime, having observed my parents, is I wanted to be married and be happily married and have kids. And I thought, because as a teenager, I loved life. I grew up in a very, very precious and special household. But when I was about 13 and I discovered girls, I went, whoa, this is a much different universe than anything. This is what I want.
Right on.
I
Yeah.
wanna be in love and be married like my parents and have kids.
That's so sweet.
Doctor's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that was the thing you really wanted to do.
That was my dream.
Number one.
And I did get married at 28 and had a child. And, we were ill-equipped. I was certainly ill-equipped. I was carrying way too much emotional and mental hurdles, detriments,
Limiting belief.
I think you've been down this pathway.
Yeah.
And by 5 years into it, our marriage dismantled. And I thought, well, okay, must be the wrong woman. And then I went into a second relationship, and within a couple of years, I was repeating the exact same, and I saw it. And when she walked and she meant it, I really had a major, major breakdown in the sense that I went,
reckoning.
Yeah, I do not know how to love.
So powerful and so deep to have that moment in life.
Yeah.
So what did you do from that?
Well,
from that
just
depth?
to add to the intensity of it, when I realized that I had broken the second relationship and it was primarily me,
Yeah.
and these were two wonderful women, and I broke down into a primal scream, spontaneous. This is I was like 35, and I had never heard of such a thing. And I was in a closet doing this. And about 3.5 hours later, I was lying on the floor in sweat and going, oh my God, I know where this pain is coming from. I was given love, and I myself dismantled it. And I realized that I was a man who didn't know how to love. And I saw the depth of it.
Wow.
I saw the depths of the beliefs, the emotions, and I committed at that time that I don't know if I was ever going to be able to succeed at it, because I saw that it was severe. It wasn't mild. Even though I was a nice young man with a great upbringing and a good
Yeah.
doctor,
Yeah.
way too much impediments. As women, you probably met up with some.
We've met some men like
We've
that.
had
Yeah.
our share.
What do you attribute that not knowing how to love to? Was it not being able to receive love, or was it not being able to be vulnerable or open your heart? What was at the
Trust
root
or-
of it?
Well, there's three
All
Mhm.
three of those roots.
Yeah, those are
Three
good ones, right?
relatives. But I think I think the depth of diminished consciousness, insufficient consciousness, goes way, way back, not necessarily confined to this particular lifetime. And I came to Earth with a lot of gifts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a human being, and it's such a blessing. But I came to Earth with a lot of old dysfunctional thoughts and perceptions, and funneled interactions through that perception. And what I'm saying is, it ran silent and it ran deep, and it was lifetimes old. And the great fortune I had is, when I did make that commitment to heal, I started meeting up with teachers and guides who really were able to assist me and give me tools.
Mm.
And so I set to work, and I
Beautiful.
put far, far more time and energy and money into that process than medical school.
Mhm.
And
It's a worthy
and it really
pursuit.
gave me a decades into it, it really gave me insight into, well, what's causing illness, and what do you need to do? What does commitment to heal really mean?
Right.
Mm.
And yes, nutrition really matters, but the nutritional choices are based on these contorted emotions. And I think I won't exercise today because I'm feeling a little down, rather than, hey,
Right.
that's getting me out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Or I'm
Exactly.
feeling a little down. I should go exercise, right?
yeah, and I should do it.
Yeah, because that's the
Mhm.
medicine, right?
Yeah.
So curious,
So
like during that journey of, investing in this kind of personal growth and this emotional health, this learning how to love, was there a book or a course or a teacher or a mentor that really impacted you?
Let's take a quick break.
Ladies, do you want to explore your sexuality and experience true sexual healing?
The Vaginal Orgasms Masterclass teaches you and your partners how to unlock your full sexual potential and awaken the G-spot, the sacred spot, and the cervix for an unforgettable sexual experience. Would learning how to finally surrender and release grief, fear, and uncertainty benefit your outlook on life, love, and relationships? We certainly think so. Common misconceptions of the G-spot, including its anatomy and function as an erogenous zone, will be covered in this course.
Plus, we're going to teach you 7 different massage strokes for the G-spot that dissolve blocked energy and increase your pleasure tenfold.
We're going to teach you how to locate the sacred spot and the best methods to stimulate it for maximum pleasure.
And you're going to learn about cervical orgasm techniques, which are the most powerful and also often elusive style of climaxing. This class is primarily geared toward women, but men have taken it as well and learned so much about how to pleasure their partners.
So get ready for multiple O's, my friends. And you can get all of that at sexreimagine.com/female-masterclass. And for being a listener of the show, we've got a beautiful coupon code for you. It is 20% off this course. Just type in podcast20, that's all caps, podcast20, and get yourself a great deal on this on-demand course.
because I was so deeply committed, I had the great fortune, as the universe unfolded, so to speak, to at the right time meet the right teachers. And there was a series of them. They've occurred over many, many years. And there's people who know things, and you've probably encountered things yourself, who know a lot about the emotions, know a lot about the mind, know a lot about consciousness. And so there's a long list of them, and some of them were very, very important to me. And some of the most important things that happened was I received tools that I could deploy in my life to work with my own emotions and my own mind, etc. And so it's been quite a journey, that particular vector. But I want to return to the medicine.
Yeah. I'm
I
so
always loved
curious if it
medicine.
enhanced your medical, training to actually then open up to this whole emotional and spiritual, it sounds like, side of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I met up with it everywhere. I delivered babies at home for a long time.
Oh, cool.
And I'm no longer doing that. I don't think it's a safe thing to do. But I saw it in the marriages. I saw, which pregnancies and labors are tough? Oh, it's the ones where they're not married. They didn't plan the baby. It's not universal, but I started seeing what I was living and experiencing. And, and then it comes down to what constitutes health, what matters for health. This is bread and butter for you. It matters what we eat and breathe. It matters that we detoxify from the many exposures that we have. It matters that we exercise. And the elephant in the room that really dismantles the biology is the dysfunctional response to the stress of life. And the biochemistry that gets triggered there, the fight or flight biology, and it really throws off these most powerful biochemicals in our body.
Yeah, I always like to say, like, hormones are like sensitive little babies, and if you take really good care of them, they're gonna, respond well. And if you give them just a little bit of crap, they're gonna respond to that as well. They're very sensitive, these biochemicals.
And they're very powerful too. They're the most powerful biochemicals in our body. And I never really guided my career around, as I was going into midlife, one of my midlife women patients who I knew was brilliant, and she had actually retired in her 40s. Think about that, what it takes to do that.
Yeah. Hard worker.
She was a smart cookie.
Yeah.
She came storming into my office one day, and this is before office hours, and came up to my desk and angry. Don't think you know me. I'm telling you, I'm falling apart. I'm going crazy. And don't give me this or that. I'm telling you, this is serious. Wow. And I knew her well enough to believe her, but it was so out of character. And serendipitously, I don't think that's the way the world works, though. But serendipitously, I'd been speaking to the world expert on progesterone a couple weeks earlier. And this was in the early 1990s. And I gave her some progesterone topical cream. And 3 weeks later, I got a letter from her saying, I can't believe this stuff. I'm totally myself again.
Yeah.
And, 86% of women midlife, 14% no, 80% yes, get mild, moderate, or severely life-stopping symptoms.
Absolutely.
And it's from the hormone depletion. These ovarian hormones are so strong.
Yeah.
And they matter for the brain and the arteries and the bones.
And your emotions. Yeah.
And sex.
Yes.
Sex,
Yeah, your desire, your libido.
Yes,
And I had never seen such a dramatic response to anything I'd ever given. You're in the health field, that by the time someone consults with you, there's a lot of water under the bridge. It can be a slow-moving train to help someone really restore from significant illness. This was so dramatic. But I wasn't guiding my career. But she wound up referring to me, and before I knew it, I had an office full of menopause women.
That's how the menopause train came along.
That's how it happened. Yeah,
it just swept you up.
And eventually, although I was so deeply into holistic medicine, functional medicine, I couldn't wrap my arms around the whole field anymore. There was just, there was the experts in the brain and dementia, and there was experts in the gut, and, and these things matter so much, and the expert in the cardiovascular, and I tried to keep containing it all. I couldn't. And I made a decision, okay, I'm going to specialize. Instead of being a all-inclusive doctor, which is an illusion, I'm going to get good at one thing. And it was the best decision I ever made. And,
fantastic.
Commitment attracts wonders.
How did you make it? Well, I guess you made a choice because of that friend needing support and then, recommending people. At first I was like, did you have to make a choice? Like, do you miss the brain stuff? Do you miss the gut stuff? But it sounds like it chose you. Hormones chose you.
Well, I also responded to the call, and it's not like I don't respect these other important projects to do,
Sure.
but I like to refer it to people who are that's their life
Who
work.
are the
Yeah, who are
special
If you want to
passionate about
straighten
it.
out the intestinal tract, you got a
Right.
piece of work to do
You
there.
got a
Oh
little,
yeah, that's a big
totally.
one for sure.
Yeah, so it's not like we don't include that, but part of it was so much was there's such dramatic results from replenishing hormones that I got attracted to it because of its effectiveness
Uh-huh.
and because of the leverage. And I've been very fortunate to attract quite a team, and we're deeply mission driven. We think that this planet desperately needs more feminine energy. And my
Well,
experience
cheers to
is-
that.
Yeah.
We couldn't agree more with you on that. So
Mhm.
tell us about your method. Like, let's say a woman comes to you and she's like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely in perimenopause. My libido's in the toilet. I have my, labia are starting to shrivel up. I'm super irritable all the time. Everyone's driving me crazy and I can't seem
Do we have
to
hot flashes?
find peace inside of my mind. Yeah, hot flashes, night sweats, the whole 9 yards, brain fog. What's your process? What do you take them through? What's the journey?
Well, you're naming some very familiar and symptoms that disable women, and the process is always the same. And we've developed over the years a lot of different moving parts to the process to streamline it and to be able to leverage to get into working with millions of women and men. But we have an initial questionnaire that is extremely thorough and has a
Yeah.
heavy emphasis on female hormones. And, I read through that questionnaire and I'm talking to my patient, and the next steps become super clear right away.
Oh, is that right?
And you get an idea. Okay, you got an idea of what to do, and then you deploy that idea and you see how well it pans out.
Mhm.
But in the world of hormones, it's pretty straightforward. And yet each woman is such an individual. There's
Right.
such a wide variation, woman to woman.
And it depends on what's happening in their lives too, with work and partnership and kids and all
It
those
does.
pieces. Yeah.
That's huge. And you try and do better living through biochemistry to help someone overcome life stressful things, and nature will not allow that. And you know that very well. It's like whack-a-mole. Okay, well, I'll support you with hormones, and then the marriage is breaking down. Yeah.
Right. One thing after
But
another.
before going into that, biology can achieve a lot. It's a lot easier, I see, for women to make the courageous decisions, and men too, and to have the oomph to improve their health and improve their lives when the bottom is being supported, because without those biochemicals, you don't move very well. You're not very motivated. You're not thinking very clearly. I mean, some of the most common symptoms
Absolutely.
of menopause is cognitive decline.
Yeah.
Women are just not functioning at the same level and the moods can go. Chronic
Erratic.
anxiety, when there's no real reason for the anxiety, they're not used to anxiety.
Mhm.
And the drive from the loss of the androgens, loss of testosterone,
Hmm.
the motivation that a woman can have to make 50 decisions in a day, important ones, it can just wither away without someone really knowing it. So you asked about the procedure.
Yeah. Process.
So we had that first consultation, and it's very apparent to me. I know what's happened. These are like a young woman at 20 is at the absolute peak of her hormone output of her ovary,
Hmm.
and she declines. Same with men,
Hmm.
20 plus or minus a couple of years, decline. And in the 30s, that decline becomes significant. Not all women feel that decline, but it is significant.
Yeah.
When they do feel it, what are they noticing? Like, what's the symptoms of
All
the
those that we
decline?
just kind of rattled off, like
Oh, you still might have more mood swings.
Well, there was some additional ones: mood,
Mhm.
anxiety, depression.
Mm.
These are the biochemicals of well-being,
Mhm.
and without them, you start getting into anxiety states.
How
Young women
interesting.
can
No
have
one
that
ever
if they don't
mentions
ovulate.
this. in your
Pardon me?
30s that you are a little ornery and anxious, and oh, it might be because your estrogen levels have been lowered. Like, that's
And
never gets
progesterone.
brought up. That never gets brought up with the therapist. That never gets brought up in conversations with your girlfriends. Your doctor doesn't mention that. I think that's really interesting.
It gets brought up if you're talking to Dr. Rosensweet, because he knows
It
all
is.
Yeah.
Or
But how
Dr.
many
Willow
30-year-olds do you
Brown.
talk to?
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know?
question. Probably
Yeah.
not as
Well,
many.
you know, it's such an important thing because in my lifetime, I've seen the explosion of benzodiazepines, Xanax,
Right.
Totally.
Right.
And I was talking to one of our board members, a woman who's been working with hormones at the PhD level for 40 years. And we know that these women are not ovulating properly, or they've had a progesterone decline. You give them progesterone, they're back on the horse,
Mhm.
feeling great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because, when we feel depressed and anxious, what we do is we self-attack. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my life? What's wrong with my decisions? And we go through this whole ordeal when we could just say, oh, my hormones need to be checked out. Like, that could bring so much understanding, relief, and also minimize the drama of wherever that feeling of depression starts to talk back to us in a negative way.
Yeah,
So thanks for bringing that up. I think that's an important
It's so
thing to know.
complex. We've grown up in an era where these microscopic poisons, and what do they do?
Right. The plastics in the water.
What are the herbicides?
in the air, in the plastic water bottles, in the soap, everywhere.
What does that do?
We're
Well,
swimming in
Yeah.
them.
wouldn't you know? It interferes with the hormone receptors.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what it binds to.
That's the biggest danger, isn't it?
It's one of
With
them.
the toxins that we can't see. It's really it attacks the hormones before anything
The
else.
receptors, yeah. It binds the receptor sites. And
That's
so,
why I think it's so important to clean the liver at least once a year.
yeah.
At least once a year, because that's a filter for all of your blood. It's
Good
gonna
point.
gonna clean out all of those estrogens that we're constantly getting
Hopefully.
input with.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. If it's
Right.
And,
it's a good cleanse.
really minimizing exposure. You know that so
Yeah,
much. It's
exactly.
just the exposure is so
Yeah.
huge.
Right.
So that's a complexity that's thrown in, why in this day and age, there's more of that anxiety and depression than I think, and it's there for different reasons. And then one could make the case that nature is pressing on the human race through the leaders, which it's the feminine that's leading in this regard, to, my God, I'm anxious all the time. I feel shame. There's something wrong with me. Gee,
Oh,
elephant in the
good.
room, maybe I should learn a lot about shame and acquire some information and tools and support to deal with shame. So it's a little complex because I learn somewhere along the line to respect who's sitting in front of me. And if they're saying, I'm feeling really bad about myself, and I feel shame, if they're really clear on it, I don't immediately say, well, we'll give you some hormones and that's going to take care of it for you. I go, oh, okay, someone's talking to me. They're telling me I feel shame. That's what they chose to say. So it's a multifaceted approach, as I'm sure you use. You don't want to quiet down the very signal that someone's getting that it's finally time in life to deal with the part of myself that feels shame.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
great that you're really
curious.
meeting them where they're at.
But the bottom line is
Did-
those hormone declines are very significant. And you asked earlier, Leah, sleep disturbance. You start getting low in estrogen, you start waking up in the middle of the night and the mind is racing and you can't go back to sleep, or you can't fall asleep because you got low progesterone, or you're getting pain on intercourse and your relationship's starting to get wobbly there. Or, there's a multitude of symptoms. The hot flashes, women do, are strong. They do well with hot flashes during the day, but not at night. When that starts interfering with sleep and you lose a few nights sleep or get interrupted sleep,
Yeah.
it's life
Yeah, and then it makes the
stopping.
brain fog 10 times
Yeah, you feel
worse.
hijacked.
And the brain fog's got its own origins because there's a zillion receptor sites for
absolutely.
estrogen in the brain and for progesterone. And you start losing your estrogen, and it's one of the most common complaints.
Absolutely. It's such a challenging one. I mean, anyone who's had COVID knows that like that brain fog part of that is so hard to overcome. And so that's kind of it's kind of that constant feeling when you're going through perimenopause into menopause that like I just can't think, I can't come up with words. Like it's just
Yeah, recall is really a challenge.
My understanding is, once the ovaries kind of take their final bow and stop doing all the producing of these incredible hormones, that the adrenal glands take over.
Don't do
And
it.
no, okay, let's
Get a
hear what
little
you got to
bit.
say about that.
I mean, the adrenal glands are still producing testosterone, and testosterone can convert to estradiol, and you're getting a tiny bit of progesterone, but it's almost like a drop in the ocean. And I know this for certain because we do 24-hour urine hormone testing, and I have for 25 years. So we see the adrenal hormones, and we see the ovarian and testicular hormones. And when a woman goes into menopause, her estrogen tanks.
Absolutely. But they're still bringing some of those hormones forward. And if somebody's heading into perimenopause with burnt out adrenals, with really deficient adrenal energy, then they're really going to tank. Like those hormones in their bloodstreams, they're really not going to be swimming.
Well, in my practice, and I'm just speaking from my practice, the primary thing I
I'm
see
curious.
is the drastic things that happen from the loss of the ovaries or the testicles. We see adrenal varying degrees of an
Burnout,
adrenal that is actually increasing its production, but that's pretty rare. People usually don't have the oomph anymore. More what we see is probably what you see is a
Right.
declined adrenal. It's been stressed. But that adrenal, because we need
Right.
cortisol to live, it gets priority. It will be preserved. And so I'd say 10% of the women that I see, they have significant diminishing of the corticosteroids. But I'm dealing also with the most motivated, proactive, health-conscious women
that's
on the
what
planet. I'm not
thinking,
dealing with the
Mhm.
populations I've dealt
Oh, is
with
that right?
in the past, clinic populations. So
Right.
it could be a whole different story in dealing with that population, which is under,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
multiply stress times 100,000,
That's so
and
much
it's much
stress.
worse.
Under-resourced.
So you might see,
Yeah.
depending on who you're seeing, severity of adrenal loss, inability to do it. It's
Right.
much more severe than I've been seeing.
Okay, so at what point do you do the testing? So they've filled out the questionnaire, they've come in, they're sitting in front of you, meet with them, you connect with them as a person, give them resources and tools from there. And then at that point, do you start to prescribe different styles of hormone replacement therapy? Is it, pellets, creams, or do you do testing first, or what's the next steps?
Yeah, and could you say a little bit more about you're getting the test and you're reading it and what is it showing you and how can a patient understand what's happening
Excellent
with their
questions.
levels?
For one thing, by the time a woman makes an appointment for a consultation, or a man, it's usually the duress has piled up. So it's not necessarily as early in the process as we would like. My dream would be to see women in their early 30s and prepare them and be able to interact with them then. But that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And I'm dealing with it.
No, that is
Okay.
the
I have a
best
follow-up
time,
question
ladies,
for
to
you
start
already.
preparing is in your mid to late to early
But,
30s.
it's like
It's
all of
true.
us. Sometimes it takes some strong medicine to make us want to go after what we need to do. And so by the time I see women and men, there's been significant decline. So right out of the gate, well, it doesn't work to test. That's very important to know.
Curious
That's
about that.
okay.
How did I learn it?
had
I
a
tested
question.
women in the
Okay.
perimenopause. A woman's in perimenopause and her hormones have been declining. And her being realizes this, and her brain, her hypothalamus and her pituitary is going, this is a little too low. And it has stimulating hormones that can be excreted from the pituitary gland to stimulate those ovaries. And they work. You get a little burst of FSH and LH. The ovaries revive a bit. In fact,
Okay.
They can be so stimulated that a woman can have higher estrogen levels than she had when she was younger, but for a very short duration.
Mm.
Like a push, like a quick push.
But does that make her hornier?
Well,
I have
always
to ask.
possible for a variety of reasons.
Can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
But it doesn't sustain. So in a young woman, when you follow the estrogen level throughout the course of her menstrual month, you see these nice smooth curves. And then finally she menstruates again and starts over. In the perimenopause, it's lower. You get a burst, you get higher. Can't sustain, goes lower. Higher, burst, lower. So it's very erratic.
Okay. Kind of like her mood swings.
But overall,
Yeah.
the sum total is not enough estrogen, not enough progesterone.
Hence the erratic emotions.
But the mistake you can make is testing a woman in the perimenopause. Like, for example, I did this when I first started out. Woman's having hot flashes, waking up in the middle of the night, mood disturbance. I know she's low in estrogen and progesterone just by her age. So if you go to test a woman who's in the perimenopause with that erratic, you can get misleading results. So I remember sitting in front of a patient who's having hot flashes, night sweats, mood disturbance. I tested her and she's looking at her test results and it shows high estrogen. And I say, well, I want to treat you with estrogen because I know you're low. And she looked at me like I was out of my mind.
Right. She's like, but it says hi. Yeah.
So we do testing for various things, but we always 100% test women that we're treating at about the 3 or 4 or 5 month mark. My favorite time to test is when a woman says, oh my God, I feel myself again.
After she's been taking some bioidenticals for a while. Okay.
Yeah. What do you mean by the 3rd or 5th month? What does that mean? She hasn't had a period in 3 months or?
Of seeing them, seeing him.
Okay.
Yeah, because, by the time a woman seeks hormone replenishment, she's 10, 20, 30 years into hormone decline. So we move slowly to help her get back up and overcome the multiple internal adjustments. So it takes about 3 to 4 months to really dial it into excellence.
So once she's already on a protocol.
And we gauge that by a simple statement. I feel great.
Okay.
And it happens almost all the time.
Now.
Then we test 100% of the women with 24-hour urine hormone testing. And it turns out that's very important because a woman can alleviate symptoms, but not have sufficient estrogen to protect her bones in her vagina. And if she does not have that, she does not have sufficient to protect her brain. So, or she can be on too much. She can have so much estrogen that she's overstimulating breast glandular tissue,
which is dangerous.
So we like the not too little and not too much. So we eventually confirm that with testing 100% of the women.
And so you understand that not too little, not too much is based on how she's feeling.
No.
Oh, okay. That's based on that big test you were just referring to.
Well, it's guideline. The how she's feeling tells me she's really oscillated back towards a good zone for herself. But we did a study. Only 25% of women are actually in the optimal zone. A woman can say, I feel a lot better, but she can still have insufficient estrogen that ultimately is going to lead to bone loss and vaginal atrophy. It's that big a deal.
So at what point are you starting a protocol of bioidentical hormones in the beginning? Like for me, I'm 44. When do I start? I mean, obviously, if I knew in my late 30s, mid 30s, I would have called you and said, give me a plan. But now I'm 44. I didn't do that. And I called my doctor last year and I said, look, I want to know what my baseline is. Can we test my hormones? I'm worried about, my menopausal experience. And she goes, it makes no sense to do that. That's not going to do anything because your hormones are changing hour to hour, day to day. We can't get an honest result for you doing that, which left me feeling really impotent. Then it's like, okay, well, then what do I do? What do I do now? Is it impossible to know what my baseline is at this age? How do I know if I want bioidentical hormones, where do we start with I'm guessing, the amount of hormones you use? So help me.
I love this perspective. And one thing you could do and you all could offer this on your website if you want, is a free copy of my book, Happy, Healthy Hormones.
Great. We will put that in the show notes.
And that came about because when I started out, there was so little known. This has been a very neglected field. Every field of medicine has got.
Men, you get all that funding for your penises. We want funding for ours. That's just my
Yes.
my broadcast out to whoever makes those things happen. So back to what you were saying.
And so one of the things that I knew a certain amount, but I figured I'm going to have to figure this out woman by woman.
Okay.
And so I would help a woman understand a certain amount of it, give her the hormones, start low, gradually increase. And I was so correct. And one of the things I learned was about them.
But at what point do you give her the hormones?
When she shows up in my office.
Right away.
So you would give me hormones today?
Well, the very first thing I would do.
After you take out the questionnaire.
Exactly. I want details. But at 44, there may or may not be details. But it sounds like there is.
There's brain fog happening.
There you go.
And there's really mostly just fear. Like, am I going to be one of the wackadoos that just is like a hot mess? I don't want to be that. I don't want to piss off everyone because I'm so damn movie.
Liver cleanse, honey. Do a liver cleanse.
I'll definitely do a liver cleanse.
I've been trying to get Leah to do a liver cleanse since I've known her.
But you hear horror stories. She has. I did a lot of
It's
liver
not that
cleanses in my
hard.
30s. I don't
So
want to do
one
them
good
anymore.
thing is it's a wonderful time to learn some things.
You're right. I'll stop being a baby.
Because part of what's disconcerting is something's going on or you're concerned something's going on and you don't know what it is. And so I wrote that book so women would know this is what's going on. This is what's going on.
I'm looking forward to reading it. Yeah. I'm excited.
I want to assure you that you're starting at a perfect age. I meet up with women who are 20 years into menopause, never had hormones. The losses are enormous. Muscle loss.
Bone loss and brain loss and muscle loss. That's why weightlifting is so important around age in your early 40s.
What gets women and men into assisted living facilities? Loss of muscle and loss of bone and loss of cognition. 80-90% of folks, as a physician, I see people of all ages. So you wish that you could start with someone in their 40s. 50s is great. 60s is pretty.
Yeah.
So just know, Leah, you're going to do fine. And first thing to do, and here's your main job. I don't know what state you're in.
Okay.
But you go shopping for someone who loves this field and knows what they're doing. And because when providers are like all of us, they don't necessarily know what they don't know. So what was told to you about testing was incorrect. What was incorrect was you were starting to be concerned. So what do you do as a healthcare provider? You listen. And you pay attention. And what we would learn about you is there's probably reason for concern, but so much is revealed just by asking you a lot of questions. And what would I learn? I would learn that you were hormonal deficient because you weren't at the level you were at 20. And so how early do we start them? Well, it's a woman by woman decision. But I want to go back to your main job and the job of every woman.
Yeah.
It's to follow that interest of yours and go shopping and find someone in your state who has a special interest in treating women in menopause with hormones, with compounded bioidentical hormones, because they're going to be the smartest. And you want to find someone you really like and you really trust, who knows a lot. That's your job.
Okay, so interview and do your due diligence when looking
Yes.
for
And there's different ways to do that. There's two main ways to do it. You can contact us because I spend most of my time training folks.
Okay.
So what state are you in?
California.
Oh yeah, well, we got California providers, naturopaths, medical doctors that are excellent. They're in our training program. And that's your job, is to find one that you're especially compatible with and go on the journey with them. And they know how to go on the journey. And you check it out to see if it feels right to you, see if they feel right to you.
How much should I bring to the forefront my family members who've been through menopause and their experience? Is there any reason to believe that their experience might be similar to something that I might expect? For instance, my mom went into menopause a little bit younger than the average woman. She had a pretty easygoing menopause. My aunt had a really just struggled. She just was in hell forever, it seemed like. So is there any reason to think that the women in your family may hold a clue to your experience?
I want to help you keep your eye on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
You got one job.
Okay. Redirect.
Or 2 jobs. Read my book, because you'll learn a lot.
Okay.
And you'll decide whether you like it or not, whether it's your cup of tea or not.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing is to find that provider, because you're going to need a partnership. For one thing, you're going to need someone to prescribe the hormones. And we're talking about a physician or a nurse practitioner. So you want to find that person. It doesn't matter so much what went on in your family, because every woman and every man goes through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no exceptions.
Now, my understanding, too, is that it's really important, if you're going to go the bioidentical route, that you start taking hormones in perimenopause versus waiting until menopause. That if you wait until after, in menopause, it's kind of like you're missing the boat a little bit, and there's a lot of catch up to do. Is that true?
It's ideal, we say, whenever a woman comes around to it.
Okay.
I've had success with 2 women. One of them was my mother. The other was my mother-in-law, who started taking hormones in their late 80s.
Wow.
Never had hormones. My mother-in-law, when she got out of rehab because she was using a walker because she lost most of her muscle and fell and fractured her hip and her humerus and her clavicle and her pelvis. And we gave her testosterone, and within 3 months, we have a video of her sitting on a low couch, arms upstretched, standing up without the use of her hands.
Wow.
And so this was after 3 months. So it's never too late. But it's ideal to start early. It's like anything else in medicine.
Okay.
Or life. Oh, you start early, you're better off.
All right. That's encouraging.
Yeah, it's so interesting from my training and from where I've come from, which has, like I said, been the most holistic side of things, right? So I've learned, like, hormones are little messengers. They run through your bloodstream. They're going to run up to the pituitary and hypothalamus, those master glands in the brain, and they're going to say to the brain, like, hey, we've already got enough hormone. We've already got enough estrogen, or we've got enough progesterone, because it's coming in exogenously. It's coming in through the skin or through pellets or however it's coming in. And so then those master glands in the brain will tell the downstream glands, like, hey, we don't need to produce that as much. We don't need to produce as much estrogen or progesterone. So ovaries, you can take a nap. Like, let's say at the age that I'm at, 43, still having regular periods. Sure, my hormones have declined. But so I have been trained, and what I also give my patients to use is to really look at their diet, their lifestyle, their sexual practices, and to start by really cleaning the blood, like clean the liver. That's my kind of first step, right? And then getting those glands activated by taking protomorphogens or glandulars to get those glands turned on so that they're doing the work for as long as possible, which is very much the opposite of what you're saying.
And what are those, Willow? What's glandulars, and what was the other thing you said?
So protomorphogens and glandulars, it's like in our culture, we don't eat a lot of liver. We don't eat a lot of heart. We don't eat a lot of pituitary glands. We don't eat those things anymore. So these are supplements that you can take that are basically like eating those glands, that feed and nourish those glands. And I have seen miracles happen. I have seen women get pregnant who medical doctors told them absolutely no way will you get pregnant naturally, and they have through diet and through these protomorphogens and glandulars. and also meditation and all the pieces that you're on board with, Dr. Rosensweet. Now, what's interesting for me at this age and this time in my life is I definitely know my progesterone levels are declining, and I'm seeing the symptoms of it. And
What are the symptoms?
I'm getting like kind of warm at night, more
Okay.
emotional. My libido's fine, but there's just a couple little things I can tell. And I
Okay.
also know when I take a lot of chaste tree, which is an herb that helps your natural progesterone in your body to produce more, when I take a lot of it, I don't see those symptoms as much. So in my mind and in my education, there's this idea that I should continue to take as long as possible the herbs and the food and the nutrition. Only as of late have I even entertained the idea of doing progesterone exogenously. So it's very timely that we're having this conversation. So I'd love to just hear your take on all of that.
Well, there's a fundamental concept that you brought up there, and it's best illustrated with the thyroid gland. For example, hypothyroidism, the thyroid gland not putting out optimal levels of thyroid hormone, is epidemic in the United States, and there's a lot of reasons for it all over the world. And if a provider then treat someone with hypothyroidism with the right amount of thyroid, that's one thing. But if they use a little bit too much, the mechanism you described comes into play. Their brain realizes, whoa, too much thyroid around here. What can I do? I can have them throw up the pill so they're not taking it. No, that doesn't work. Or I can shut down the thyroid gland. But that's pilot error. Anyone who's really highly skilled with thyroid would never do that, would never shut down that thyroid gland. They would take the thyroid gland's capable of putting out a certain amount, and in this case, not enough. So you replenish to augment that. But you don't give someone too much, or exactly what you described will happen. It's different with the ovaries. They're going to go on out.
Okay.
And how do we...
Yeah, they're going out whether you want
Yeah,
them to or not.
they
Right.
just do. And
Yeah.
our approach to things isn't, okay, they're going out a little bit, well, let's just take them over and just flood the system and shut down the pituitary drive of the ovary. No way. The art, and it's not hard, by the way, it's not hard at all, to make up that deficit to where you can sleep, to where you're not waking up with feeling warm and having a racing mind. And that's actually an estrogen deficiency. Now, if you have an estrogen deficiency, you can be certain you've got a progesterone deficiency, so you're spot on with it.
Right.
So
Right.
you're talking about a very important concept. We're not there to overwhelm the gland. In fact, let's say in general that this is the range for healthy young menstruating women. It's a range. Some women, they just need a certain amount of estrogen. It's pretty low. They regularly menstruate. They're fertile. They can have babies, carry pregnancies to term. Whereas other women need a lot more estrogen. They need 3 times that amount, actually. And that's how individual women are.
What about the testosterone levels in a woman during this time?
They're extremely important. They decline as well. Testosterone is imperative to retain muscle mass.
Okay.
Who would ever want to not celebrate exercise to the highest order? And you gotta, you don't use it, you lose it, and you lose it.
Right.
You're going to lose it. But what happens to old people? And a gerontologist taught us this in medical school. He said, you medical students, 1,000 diagnoses. Let me tell you what's happening to old people. They lose their muscle. They can't stand and walk with stability. They fall on their osteoporotic hips and they die.
Yeah.
You want to do something for them? Help them with their muscle. And like I was saying earlier, because I've seen people at all ages, and I spent time with my mother for 8 years as she went from assisted living to nursing home. the majority of the folks who are in there are from there for sarcopenia and cognitive decline. And so we always feel like the greatest service that we do for women is replenish that testosterone, because you have twice as much testosterone as a young woman as you have estradiol, the most potent of the estrogens.
Mm.
It is not a male hormone. It is a human hormone.
Right.
It's imperative women, and it always declines. Now, there's some rare instances where, as the estrogens decline in the perimenopause, the testosterone, some of it coming from the adrenal, increases to compensate, because testosterone is converted into estradiol. That's where a woman gets her estradiol. But it doesn't last. And though I used to see it occasionally 30 years ago, I am very, very rarely seeing a woman in the perimenopause who's got adequate testosterone these days. It really speaks to a demographic shift here in health. And how do I know? If a woman's getting flab here, or her libido or decision-making certainty is down, or she can't squat, like I always say to a patient, stand up for me without using your hands. And, you will see so much sarcopenia in the perimenopause. So
Oh, good. That's
combination is imperative. Testosterone plus exercise. It's imperative.
Okay. I've got a question, but I want to pause before I just start raining more questions on you. If there's Willow, if there's anything you want to jump in there with.
No, I'm just, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about all the sexual consequences of this and how. So, okay, I'm going to start with one story, which is I've got a friend who is, I know, I probably went through perimenopause maybe 6 years ago or more. And she's took a time away from being very sexual, but she's back to being sexual again. And it seems like for the last couple of years, at least, she can't have sex without getting a terrible UTI when there's a condom involved. And it hurts, right? So this is a common complaint, especially the tissues being thin. There can be bleeding. It can just be painful. It's not very orgasmic. Penetration's very difficult. And this chronic UTI, even though she does all the preventative stuff up front. Willow, you've mentioned a few things that women can do to help prevent UTIs. She's on all of that protocol. And it is still, she's not having any luck. She's even started to do the bioidentical hormones. I think they're still trying to get that figured out. But just the other night, she was in tears going, do I just give up? I'm starting to lose hope that I'm going to be able to have penetrative sex again in my future. Like, am I done with that part of my life? I'm never going to have a hard one up the middle. I said, I don't think so. But so I'm really glad that you're on today. What's been your experience with women who really felt like, man, my yoni is shutting down. It's shrinking. And especially the UTI problem.
Good news.
All right.
It's healable at the 100% level, because the cause is extremely well understood. Estrogen it's a powerful hormone, and it does so many things. And as a woman's hormones decline and her estrogen declines, this is going on simultaneously with the vagina. She's losing vaginal health. And when you look under a microscope, you see a condition called vaginal atrophy, which used to be thick and moist. It gets thin, and the cell nature changes. It's 100%.
And is it because it's losing collagen?
No,
or
it's losing
okay.
its surface epithelium. It needs estrogen to have a healthy vagina. Let me put it that simply. You must have adequate estrogen. So 100% of the women go into some form of vaginal atrophy. And the ones who are having intercourse are the ones who really know about it. The first thing that happens is they start using lubrication. And they didn't need lubrication when they were in their 20s. That moment of when they started using lubrication, they were already experiencing significant levels of estrogen decline. Mm-hmm. And the great news is it's totally healable. Maybe not to restore a youthful nature of the vagina, but totally without pain. Some women continue to need lubrications, others don't.
Well, lubrication
Yeah,
aside,
there's also some great suppositories and things on the market now that are non-hormonal that can really replenish and rebuild that tissue as well as what you're saying.
Well, I'm going to disagree.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to offer a different opinion. I say without the estrogen, I'd like to know what those are and how much experience you've had in those.
Yeah, and I'm not saying necessarily without the estrogen, but the suppositories themselves are without the estrogen, which is not to say that women are additionally taking estrogen. Although I was speaking to a woman the other day who has a company, we're going to be interviewing her, and I didn't get the intel on whether or not, they were additionally using estrogen either through a cream or through pellet or something like that. But the suppository itself was really supportive of replenishing those tissues. So
do you know what's in the suppository?
yeah, I can I'll look it up for you. We're gonna have a whole interview with her.
And I want to give you an opinion.
Okay, let's hear
Lay
it.
it on us.
That vaginal atrophy is from low estrogen.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you that that's what's happening. Yeah.
And you can do all kinds of workaround.
It's the estrogen.
You're going to use all kinds of workaround, but what the body wants is the estrogen, and the estrogen works. And she's starting with bioidentical hormones to the degree of vaginal atrophy that she has.
Okay.
I think in terms of 3 to 9 months recovery of that vagina
Okay.
when she's applying the estrogen to her skin, which I'm hoping she's doing. Now, what we do in instances like your friend is that we will also suggest that a woman takes some of the estrogen intravaginally. For example, what we did many, many years ago is we invented and patented certified organic oil.
It's like a massage oil?
For the estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone.
Internally?
Well, it's jojoba, pure jojoba. And we have 3 patents on it, so you can't put hormones in it, violating the patent. But what we suggest with these topicals is that a woman bring her general body levels up. And twice a day, we have her take estrogen. We put a couple drops on the forearm, and you rub the forearms together. But a woman who's having the situation that your friend is will say, yeah, take an extra drop or 2 at night.
Put it on the vulva?
Put it on your finger, insert it in your vagina,
insert it.
Rub it around your vulva, and do that. She won't have to do that local application for more, at most 3 months.
Okay.
And then it will come back,
That
and she
vagina
won't have
will
to
recover.
keep going with it. Maybe like several years later.
Correct.
But if the estrogen internally is doing the work, then she shouldn't have to. Yeah.
It will. The estrogen internally will, as you say, that will take over.
Okay.
Now you continue to take the estrogen.
That's like a little jumper cable trick, right? Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So the topical oil is just, it's a starter. It's a jump starter.
Jump starter. Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. And so what about the UTI connection? Is there a correlation?
It's very connected. It's 100% connected.
And is there something going on with the urethra? Is it thinning? Is it atrophying?
We'll see
due to estrogen?
Yes, exactly. That's precisely what's going on. The urethra, which is a tube, just for your audience, that drains the urine from the bladder out. But the urethra ends in the vagina. And the place where the urethra joins the vagina is called the urethral meatus.
Okay.
It's the opening. And that's part of the vagina.
Okay.
So recurrent UTIs are almost 100% a function of the vaginal atrophy that's also occurring to the urethral meatus. And it gets very tender and very easily injured by penetration.
Yeah, and then you get UTI and you feel sick, and it's just pits.
But it will stop in almost every, you never say always in medicine. You never say, 100% of the time. You never say that. But in 98% of the women, all they have to do is restore the health of the vagina, and the urethral meatus will be part of that restoration.
Okay.
Now, women who've had a lot of kids, and large-headed kids often, they can do some stretching in there that also can contribute to loss of urine, urinary incontinence. But what you're describing is vaginal atrophy affecting the urethral meatus, which is part of the vagina.
Do you think that the use of condoms is creating an added complication or a reason for the UTIs to be that much more problematic, or is that not a coincidence, or is it just a coincidence?
Well, I'm trying to hold my breath here because I'm such a fan of condoms.
I
Mhm.
would say it's
But
contributing.
yes,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to say
Yeah,
it.
just tell the
Yeah.
truth, even though
With
we are also a fan of condoms.
yeah, but with, lubrication, and my favorite is organic coconut
Yeah.
oil or our organic jojoba.
Mhm.
That's what we
Okay, so
use.
jojoba is safe
With
for
adequate lubrication, and don't
Use
don't
lots.
hesitate to slather it
Mhm.
on.
She
And
does.
if the condom is
She's a
important,
sex educator, so she's very pro lubricant. And
yeah,
good
good.
lubricants.
Now, some of these lubricants are irritating.
So the lubricants on the condoms can be irritating
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
It also depends on what kind of condoms. The sheepskin, the skin, the SKYN might be better for her. But yeah, ideally she would be with a partner she didn't have to use them with.
Yes, she would. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank you for answering those
Yeah.
questions.
So I feel like we could talk to Dr. Rosensweet for probably like 25 more episodes because there's just so
Yeah.
much to cover here.
There is. So as we sort of wrap up, I've got one question that we probably should have asked in the very beginning, which is, what are bioidentical hormones? Because some people may not even know what that means as compared to other hormone
Yeah.
replacement or replenishment.
Well, replenishing hormones has been known to be going on for about 1,000 years. Yeah.
Really?
The Chinese aristocrats set up these outhouses to collect urine of young women. And they also set up,
And then they drank it.
no, not exactly. That was a different culture.
That was a different Chinese culture.
And they collected in a separate outhouse the urine of young men. And they dried it out.
Okay.
And the aristocrats took it. And that's why the 24-hour urine hormone test works, because there's hormones in the urine. And so that was the original. And then in the 40s, the pharmaceutical industry had the idea that women could use estrogen. So they chose the horse, the pregnant mare. They catheterized pregnant mares, collected the urine, dried it out, and came out with the most popular and profitable drug in the history of up till that time, Premarin, pregnant mare
that right?
urine. So they're taking that. Now, that's bioidentical for the horse, same estrogens as the horse, but 50% of them the human female has never seen. In the process of doing the birth control pill, actually, that the plant world had a precursor. Yams have it. Soy has it.
Ask you about the yam.
Soy has it. That's called diastenin. And if you take that diastenin and you carefully process it, you can turn diastenin right out of the plants. In fact, the pharmaceutical industry owns soy fields because they're getting their own. And you can process it and make pure estradiol, same molecule that used to come out of your ovary, or not used to, still coming out of your ovary. Pure testosterone, pure DHEA, pure estriol, pure progesterone, same molecule. So there's many, many ways that hormones have been replenished, but bioidentical means you're using the same molecule that came out of your ovary, and it's derived from plants.
Okay.
I'm curious. Okay, one more final question before we wrap up. It's a little different.
10 more final
I know,
questions.
God, it's hard to wrap these things up.
It's so hard, I know.
So this 24-hour urine test, what you're getting with that, let's say me, for example, still having regular cycle. Yes, it's not, it's not the hormone level it used to be, but it's still doing the up and down. And when I do a saliva panel where I'm, spitting into a tube every 2 or 3 days and then sending that in, I'm looking at what's going on with the levels and the hormone throughout the entire month versus the 24-hour snapshot of the urine. So I want to understand a little bit more why that works so well.
Well, so none of these methods are perfect. And just like in the medicine that you're practicing, there's a multitude of factors that we address to understand what's going on and to get ideas about what to do. But testing is an important part of it. And the testing that was considered the gold standard in the 1960s, when some of the original work was done, was the 24-hour urine hormone test by GC mass spec, it's called. And because all of the hormones and what happens to the hormones when they get processed show up in the urine. Saliva can be decent to measure your hormone levels of cortisol and DHEA in someone you are not treating with cortisol and DHEA. But once you go to treat a woman or a man, to me, I'm going to give you my best shot. Saliva absolutely does not work. Now, it's not just an opinion. Our group ran tests. We had individual women and individual men send in split specimens on the same day. Send in a salivary hormone, 24-hour urine hormone to 2 different laboratories, blood test, and a 5-point urine collection, and compare the results. And the salivas were just, they don't work. I'm going to save you, I'm going to give you my best shot. People might want to disagree with me, but I'm going to give you my best shot. And I found it out in the trenches. I was treating these women, and I started out with salivary tests, and the results I was getting didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Now, were these women already on hormone replacement therapy?
That's
okay. So what you're saying is they really need to be clean and not on anything in order to get a good read with the salivary test. Yeah. Okay.
But like I said, in the situation that you're in, I would not recommend testing you at all. It doesn't mean we couldn't learn a lot about you. And if you choose to read my book, you will learn a lot about you. You will see in living technicolor. Because the hormones are so powerful, the lack of them has these effects in most, but not all of them. Yeah.
So fascinating. I know.
What an exciting industry. And thank you so much for doing the work that you do. We will have Dr. Rosensweet's links for his website. Now, you can go to his website and you will see his book, and there's a link to go to Amazon to go purchase it. But doggone it, he's giving us the book for free. So click on the link in the show notes.
It's a PDF copy of it.
And if you want the hard copy, you can still get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But we are e-readers.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Easy peasy. Print it out, grab a highlighter, get a pen, get old school, study this stuff. I just want to say in closing, I really appreciate getting to know you and your method and your understanding and your education. And it's very intriguing to me, from the education and training that I've had to just kind of dive into your pool of training and education. And, I'm now, my curiosity is piqued. I mean, I love to understand all aspects and sides of endocrinology. So I'm excited to read your book and also potentially learn a little bit more with you as the years go by. Yeah.
All right. And we do have professional training programs. It's also a special gift for me, for number one, to hang out with the two of you. You're not doing this by accident, and there's a richness to who you are, and I can imagine the benefit to who you influence. So I experienced that.
Oh,
so it's very mutual. I'd like you to know that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to sit with you today.
It's such a pleasure. And of course, I got one more, which is, do you have a prerequisite for your professional courses for people who are taking kind of the professional track?
No.
Well, there you go out there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But I'd be honored if you all want to have more questions at another time. Just let Karina know.
Okay.
Great.
I'd be delighted to come back.
Yeah, we'd love to have you
y'all.
back. All right, everyone. Much love. Thank you, Dr. Rosensweet.
Love, 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 love.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Okay. It's dish time.
All right, let's dish on Dr. Rosensweet. It was so interesting as we were coming into this interview. I was just checking his workout and looking at his bio, and I was like, oh, God, here we go. I was like, I'm going to be having the exact opposite opinion of him in almost all regards. But I was so happily surprised when we got off on such a good foot of the holisticness that he brings to this. Okay, I still may only have, may have the training that I have of I have a very, very special functional medicine teacher who explains things in a very, very specific way. And it's a little bit hard to reiterate, but when she explains the function of the body, it makes so much sense. And it does go in some controversial aspects to what a lot of medical doctors
Western
see.
doctors.
And that said, he's been in practice. He's been running labs. He's been doing these tests. And so has my, teacher. But it's not to negate anything. I think all of it is valuable. And I think it's also following your own intuition, but I still have a resistance. Like, I don't want to start putting stuff in my body. I don't want to get Botox. I don't want to enhance myself. I want to stay as natural as possible, as long as possible, as long as I'm feeling happy.
I'm curious. Like, why is that a strong value for you?
I think, partially, I think because of my training, being in the Eastern medical field. And then I've always just thought that we have all the medicine we need inside of us. I think cultivating orgasmic energy, that's something he just doesn't know about. Okay. Maybe he does inside of his own, sexual practices in his own life, but you and I have been studying what it means to draw orgasmic energy up into your pituitary and your hypothalamus and your pineal gland. And we know the value of that because we've been doing it for ourselves for so long. So, there's, I don't know.
There's a dedication and there's a discipline of utilizing the cultivation of these natural things with which you can dedicate yourself to youth and regeneration as you get older. So you're not aging as fast as your contemporaries because you're being mindful, present, and you've done your due diligence to know what are the things that are going to increase the aging process and what are the things that are going to decrease the aging process, which is why the youth and regeneration industry is, billions of dollars, and people pursue it because we want to be young and healthy and we want to feel vital.
Right.
And, for someone like me who likes shortcuts, discipline is just not in my makeup.
And I think that's such a big part of it too. It's like, it depends on who you are. And I would say, the example that he gave was like this high-powered woman who
depleted.
No, she retired at 43 or 42, right? I'm like, okay, she's coming in to perimenopause with burnt out adrenals, like so many women across the globe, right? Because we don't value the yin. We don't value doing nothing. We don't value just being. It's not something that our culture ingrains in us. It's all about, what did you get done? What did you produce? And how much did you,
create and output.
Exactly. So I think culturally, we're really heading into this metamorphic time in our lives as women with a lot against us. It's like we're pushing a boulder up a hill already. And so that's why going to shortcuts, quick fixes, and, like bioidenticals and other things. And also saying that, I want to also say, of course, bone density and muscle tone and absolutely.
And brain.
That is the function of estrogen in your body. And so when it declines, if you've got incredible adrenals, I see people, because I do see people sail through it. I do know other Chinese medicine practitioners who eat really healthy and do eat liver and do eat those things, and so they do sail through
that does make
time
sense.
with no wrinkles, you know? So I do know that it's possible to do it as absolutely holistically as possible, not adding things to your body. And we also live in a world where if you're a mom and you've got a job and you've got a husband and you've got bills and you've got all that stuff over you that you've got to take care of, you might just want to take some estrogen exogenously.
Well, and it may not all be stress related, right? It could be genetic related that I don't know. I do know that when he was talking about needing lubricant in your 20s, because this is kind of a thing that comes up on occasion. Women feel bad if they think they need lubricant. And I've always thought that was just ridiculous.
I used lube anytime.
I used lube in my 20s and I never thought anything about it. I didn't realize that there might be a connection to estrogen levels declining as a result. And then I thought, what? I was also ejaculating quite a bit in my 20s, and that is very stringent and washes away a lot of the mucosity of natural
viscosity.
lubrication.
Mhm.
So I don't know which came first, my progesterone going down or
Your Amrita?
my Amrita stripping my natural mucosity. Isn't that a great word?
Mucosity. It's very sexy when you say it, honey.
I thought his sort of take on the adrenals was interesting, that he didn't agree that the adrenals are that significant to the production of estrogen.
They definitely produce a lot less than the ovaries ever did. The
Okay.
ovaries are going to be the opera singer at the front of the stage. And once they take their final bow, you're going to have like, you know, a pretty good singer come on stage.
Now, I do know someone who sailed through menopause, didn't really feel like she had any symptoms, but she was also on sports testosterone.
Okay,
And I
so she
wonder
was
if the
on exogenous
testosterone-
hormones. If she's on
Yes.
any exogenous
All
hormones,
bets are off.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no
Yeah.
comparison.
so that's not fully.
I also thought bioidentical hormones were your own hormones that they like take out of your body and then they do something to it and then they give it back.
No,
I've been totally wrong about that.
Yeah, and what I've learned about bioidentical hormones, like what he was saying, it comes from wild yam, right? And so it's got this already thing inside of it
And
that's
soy.
that's synonymous to the chemicals that come out of your body. But my education, my teacher taught me, you know, you have to change the molecule of a bioidentical 18 times. It has the structure has to change
Oh.
18 times in order for it to be bioidentical to your body.
Okay.
And I do love my teacher, you know, but I'm influenceable, and I'm like, I'm curious about Dr. Rosensweet's methods and stuff. And especially as I'm heading toward perimenopause, there's all kinds of things that I know to do that I do, like weightlifting, super important. Yes, as you're heading in, and not eating a bunch of sugar and keeping your caffeine levels down, and, you know, keeping your
Wah, wah.
all the pizzas, right? And
Sunblock. Sunblock help?
actually, I'm more of the
Oh, okay.
non-sunblock, you know. That's just me. So, but I also don't want to miss the boat on keeping myself healthy because of one education, you know, one
Yeah.
form of education. So that's why I'm excited to really look into his stuff, and maybe I'll even do his training.
Well, that's great. You know, I kind of, because I had a roommate who was a compound pharmacist. So she
Oh, cool.
she makes all sorts of stuff. And was telling me, like, when bioidentical hormones, it seemed like they got really popular. And the use of them, maybe the technology, you know, improved or something. So I kind of have always set myself up in my mind. I had a story going, well, that's what I'll do. And then being in these groups, right, where women come in, they're at my Tantra seminar, and they're telling their stories. They're sharing their stories of woe. And one of the stories of woe is always a woman who's struggling with her vaginal tissue, her comfort, how painful sex is, things atrophying. And it seemed like the ongoing answer in the class someone would always say bioidentical hormones.
Get on bioidenticals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I mean, it is a very magical fix.
Yeah,
to
he did
a
make it sound
lot
very
of
magical, didn't it?
solutions.
Like,
Yeah, it is. And I mean, when women start taking testosterone, when they're like, God, I haven't wanted to have sex in 5 years, and then they start taking a little testosterone, they're like, woohoo, honey, let's go. You know, it's a pretty big game changer, because hormones are powerful drugs inside
yeah, they're
of
like
our
altered.
bodies.
Yeah,
They
can
are. They
really-
alter. I mean, think about if you're high on dopamine or you're high on oxytocin, like you're in an altered state. And
Right.
so,
Same,
you know,
same.
when we're in our fertility years and we've got these higher levels of estrogen, progesterone, we're high on them all the time.
Right, we don't
Sometimes
know
we're
it
high,
until we
sometimes
don't have
we're
'em.
low. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then they go away, and we're like, oh, you know, it's kind of like the lights go out. So it can be very confusing, and there, like you said, there can be so much self-criticism and blame, like that I'm not this enough or that enough. So it's I'm excited to read his book, and I would love to just fill out his questionnaire too, just to
see
what
what's
he's,
on there.
what he's
Yeah.
asking. Yeah,
I
that'd be
had that thought
fascinating.
too. Okay, my
Mhm.
last thing I want to get clarification from you is I didn't feel like I was getting a clear answer. So
Yeah.
maybe you picked up something I didn't. But it was like, okay, now that he said all the things, I can say with pretty good confidence, yeah, I can feel my levels now going down. I can see some of the symptoms.
Yeah.
So when do I start taking the medicine? I mean, obviously you have to see a doctor and do your due diligence.
Right
but
away.
I thought it was you got to wait until you stop having periods or your
Oh,
periods start to
no.
skip.
Oh, no,
You
no,
can do them
no.
now?
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
do
yeah.
them?
You could do them now.
Okay.
Aren't you
well,
still
thank
taking
you.
birth control?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still on exogenous hormones. So that's, so if you wanted to start taking bioidenticals, which are still exogenous hormones, you would want to, in my opinion, you would want to get off the birth control
Okay.
first because you're already adding estrogen to your body. So you'd want to get off of that. Then you'd do a liver cleanse to clean the slate, and then you could add some
Pursue what the
bioidenticals.
next.
Yeah, or probably in his opinion, you would just switch over.
Okay, so if you like this episode, would you please let us know? I'm in talks with another gynecologist who's specializing in endocrinology.
Bioidentical?
Yes, and it would be interesting to have another perspective. So if this is fascinating to you,
We should
you
really
gotta let
have
us
my
know.
teacher on too. That's what I was
Yes,
thinking. I'm like,
1,000%.
let's have my teacher on. She'll
Yeah,
totally do
because
it.
that's probably even what people don't know even more. So
That's definitely
yes. All right, y'all.
Okay.
Have a beautiful day.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. Leah Piper is a tantric sex master coach and a positive psychology facilitator. Dr. Willow Brown is both a Chinese and functional medicine doctor and a Taoist sexology teacher. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.